Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Spiker. Today, well, Valorant has actually updated itself with a nice new shiny blog. The link is in the doobly-doo below if you want to go and find it, but there's also just all this info now available. One of the big questions leading into Valorant was how are they going to handle this ranked system? Are they going to have it similar to how they have it in League of Legends? Are they going to have it similar to how you have it in Counter-Strike? And now they've actually come in and they've managed to clear up a huge amount of confusion. So first things first, simply put, there are these ranks available. You can see them on the screen. A whole bunch of different like mini brackets: iron, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, immortal, and then finally Valorant for the sort of the best of the best players, probably equivalent to your top 500 in Overwatch, for example. Each of these ranks, except for the top rank, is divided into 3 sub-categories, and there's a couple of interesting little tidbits about how you progress through the ranks. Now, the first thing is that there will be an unrated mode available in the game, so if competitive matchmaking isn't your thing, you can go and play unrated, have a mess around, have some fun. One of the big things that they have highlighted as well is that they are going to introduce what's called skill-based, basically skill-based matchmaking or skill-based ranking up. So winning and losing will of course have a huge impact on whether or not you rank up or rank down, but it will be adjusted whether or not you performed really well as expected for that rank, or if you performed badly. So if you are winning games but you're performing really badly, you're going to rank up slowly, whereas if you are, winning really like top of the scoreboard, really high KDA, getting a ton of value, really good econ value, really good, all the stats are looking great, then you're going to rank up much faster as the game goes. Hang on, you probably shouldn't be at this rank, let's get you out of there nice and quickly. This has been a system that has caused some controversy in some other games. Overwatch in particular had some issues with skill-based matchmaking and how that kind of worked. But in general, I'm kind of in favor of it. I do think, though, it could introduce a couple of problems down the line. People getting obsessed with their KDA, for example. It depends on how they're going to figure out how you're performing well. If it is just KDA, then that's not really representative of how you play the game, for example. It's a very valuable thing often to run in first, get some intel, maybe you'll do some damage, but you'll die, and then someone else will come in and clean up and get a quadra kill and look great, but it's really that information, that little first push, that caused all the differences to happen. So going to be something worth keeping an eye on, see if they explain that a little bit more in the future. The other thing that they want to do, especially with this the skill-based matchmaking, the skill-based assessment, is can they detect Smurfs very quickly? Of course, Smurfs are going to be something that will very quickly ruin a match. If someone is much better than everyone else in the lobby, Valorant is absolutely a game where you will feel that very quickly. They'll just click on heads, they'll move around much better, they'll find things better, they will do wallbangs and things that other people just don't know about at that rank, and as a result, it will be very telling the moment that there is a Smurf. And with a free-to-play game, Smurfing is a constant danger and a constant thing you have to be aware of. There's no barrier for entry. You can go and make 20, 30 accounts, and I imagine they might have ways of assessing, is this another account on the same computer? Does this person play like they would if they're playing on their main account? Do they have the way to detect whose account is whose? I imagine they do, especially with this sort of ring 0 level anti-cheat. They can probably figure out who's playing on what computer very quickly, so I imagine it's not going to be too much hassle for them to go and find these Smurfs nice and quickly. The other big thing and the other big question was, can you group with your friends? How do you group with friends? So one of the things they have highlighted is that yes, of course you can go into competitive with a group of up to 5 people, but you must be within 2 ranks or 6 tiers, so the ranks being the sort of the metal, I suppose, and then the tiers being the, I'm in gold 1, gold 2, or gold 3, and I guess gold 3 is higher than gold 1, which might be a little bit confusing, especially if you play League, which I think works the other way around, where gold 1 is the highest rank in gold, and now it's gold 3 in Valorant. Oh god, maybe that will be changing as well, just to keep it lined up with the rest of their games and try and make it as clear as possible. But yeah, you've got to be within 2 ranks of everyone else you're playing with to make sure that the matchmaking can handle it. Something that Counter-Strike kind of doesn't do. Counter-Strike, you can just play with everyone as long as you're in a 5-stack. It'll try and match the enemy team to match your skill levels, but it does result in some kind of wacky situations. It does result in a few games being very disproportionate. Sometimes if it's not 5-stack versus 5-stack, the enemy team might be very disproportionate, and the guy who's low rated gets picked on and bullied and shouted at because, well, he obviously can't keep up with the rest of his team, and that's not fun for that guy. So there is an understandable reason to try and make sure that the average skill is about around a relatively tight grouping. They've also discussed rank inactivity. They are not going to have decay, so if you only have a chance to play every so often, or you only really want to go into it when you have your friends around and you want to just play with your friends in ranked, then you will not be penalized for not playing the game. Even after 14 days, they say, that's when your account will get flagged as inactive, and all that will do is hide your rank. So it'll basically say that, okay, we aren't very confident in how you can play compared to everyone else anymore, you might be a bit rusty, and so as a result, your rank gets hidden. After you, just after your first match, not even after you win your first match, just after your first match, your rank will flash up again. I imagine there might be a fairly large adjustment on the back of that if your account does go inactive, so if you come back and suddenly you're terrible, the game might de-rank you a little bit more heavily than if you just played normally and had a bad game. So it is worth sort of keeping in mind, but 14 days is a very generous amount of time, I think. Like, Overwatch's 7 days was kind of easy enough to manage, especially if you were only playing on one account. At the time, I know I was playing on about 3 different accounts and managed to sort of maintain them all around Masters level, so it's very much possible to do. 14 days is quite long and quite generous, I think, and people shouldn't really run into that problem. It is nice to see that there isn't decay, but I do know at the very highest level, at that Valorant rank, decay will be something that maybe they should consider. At like the very, very top echelon, what tends to happen is that people will get very high ranked and then just kind of sit there and not play and just kind of fill up that top rank, and that's kind of a bit of a gross situation. So we'll see if you can get deranked, if something like the Valorant rank has an exclusive number to it, or just has a very limited pool of people that can be in there, if they will need to introduce some sort of deranking system. Of course, the big question is when? When will you get to play in Ranked? And they've said that it's slated for soon after patch 0.49, so it will be in during the beta, and it will, during the beta at least, use the same rules and format as unrated. So no changes to the friendly fire, no changes to anything like that. I'd suspect to see that changed, but we'll see if they sort of keep it as it is. You can still deal friendly fire, of course, with abilities, but shooting through people and like using other people as cover, that feels a little bit interesting of a choice to me. As a Counter-Strike player, it just seems kind of very, very powerful, basically, as you don't have to consider what shots you're firing, so it's going to be interesting to see how that works. The other thing, of course, is that if you do go into the beta and play Ranked, you are not going to carry that rank over into the live service. This is something that I think is a big advantage for people who are playing in the beta, and I do hope that they manage to open the beta up as much as possible, as quickly as possible, because having this time to play around and test things and try things where it's very stress-free will be very useful. Like just being able to play around in a serious environment where I'm sure people will play in that competitive mode fairly seriously, but knowing that in a couple of weeks or a couple of months time it's not going to matter, it's all going to get erased, and then you're going to go into normal ranked mode. That opens up a lot of opportunities, I think, for experimentation. It's something that you should, as a player, feel comfortable with, just messing around a little bit here and there, trying various things, but it's definitely much more relieving and there's a lot less pressure when you know that, okay, well, I can try and learn how to use the operator during this time, and I'm not going to tank my rank or tank my friends' ranks by losing tons of games because I can't use a sniper rifle, for example. The other thing to try and combat Smurfs a little bit at least is that they have to play 20 unrated matches to unlock the competitive mode, which I think is fair enough, and it's actually quite generous. Like 20 matches is, if you compare it to Overwatch, which, you know, you have to be level 25, like that's a lot of games. It actually does take a little bit of time to build up, and it is a quite effective deterrent against smurfing. But with the 20 unrated matches, that's a little bit less time, that's a little bit quicker. It'll be interesting to see how they handle the smurfing situation, whether or not it will cause a lot of problems very quickly, or whether they'll manage to keep on top of it with that free-to-play model. Of course, it could just flare up and be a bit of trouble. Still, with this being a competitive shooter and a very competitively oriented game, it's good to see that they have people working on the competitive system. It's good to see that it'll be in the beta as well, and that it will be kind of integral to how the game works. It's going to be a very, very interesting time to see how strategies develop and how the unrated games might differ from the competitive games. At the moment, everyone just kind of plays unrated as if it is competitive, playing it fairly seriously, and it does have like a little bit of a matchmaking system inside it already, so it kind of is a competitive system right now. But with the competitive mode, suddenly things, you know, it just sounds more serious. You key up for competitive and you're going to play a serious game of Valorant. You're going to sit down for 40-50 minutes and go in and really want to win. So, just to sum up very quickly, 8 ranks with 3 tiers inside the ranks. You can queue up to just about you can queue up to the full 5-party size, but you can also play in groups of 4, 3, 2, just go in solo if you really want to, and the game will try and match you against other similarly sized groups. Rank isn't displayed if you don't play for 14 matches. If you go in active, then it will give you a little bit of adjustment, but you do not lose rank over time, and the closed beta rank does not carry over into launch either. Also, to keep in mind that skill-based matchmaking or skill-based assessment is in, so if you perform extremely well in your rank, then you will rank up faster. But if you still lose games, you will probably not rank up. It's just like a modifier to how you rank. So if you play really well and you win games, you'll rank up quickly. If you play badly or you play average for that rank, and you'll probably stay around that rank and slowly rank up as you win games, lose games. Maybe you might slowly rank up if you keep winning, but it's going to be a slow process. And if you are being carried by a friend or carried by a teammate, it's probably going to be a slower rank up for you, as the game will go, hang on, this guy might not be quite pulling his weight. Overall, I want to know what you guys think, though, as the community will help shape this competitive system. Feedback seems to be taken on board pretty well and pretty quickly by the Valorant devs, and this is still the first iteration of the system. They, of course, have a lot of experience with League of Legends and with other competitive FPS games. They have a number of developers coming in from other development studios that will be helping them out. It's going to be interesting to see how this system evolves. But yeah, I really want to know what you guys think, what you want to see out of the competitive system, what sort of things worry you. Does the lack of decay worry you, for example, if you are a high tier player? Does the playing within a couple of ranks also cause a number of problems? I know I have a few friends who I might not get to play with as much because my rank might end up quite high compared to theirs, or my rank might end up quite low compared to some of my other friends. So I'm a little bit worried that I might not be able to play with certain people, which is not a problem, for example, in Counter-Strike. Also, just with the ranks in general, I mean, I don't know about you, but it does feel a bit excessive to have 8 categories. It just feels a little bit much, I guess, but we'll see how that develops over time. Alright guys, thanks for watching to the end. This has been Spiker, and well, we'll try and keep you updated with as much juicy Valorant information as possible. I have been Josh, as one voice amongst many. You can find me on Twitter at @1_amongst many. I'm also frequently joined by Stylosa at @Stylosa. Make sure you hit the bell and make sure you drop a follow if you want all that Valorant info. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Toodles.